what's going on with the backup situation in Toronto? Because for some reason it's the biggest story in the league, not the fact that they just creamed Vancouver and the Stanley Cup champions as well.
Well, I think it's a big story in the league because their backup is 0-6-1. In Kaskisuo and Hutchinson are 0-6-1. Now, I think one of the games was under Keefe for Hutchinson, but most of them were under Babcock, and it doesn't seem like they're going to do anything. And it's a little bit annoying because I think before I would have argued that they need a right-handy first, then they can go get their backup goalie. But now, looking at the way Keefe has the pairings, I think, fine, if you need to wait for the rest of the season or you need to wait just to bring up Liljegren or Sandin, I don't mind sticking it out with one certain player who I will name soon. This is their biggest issue, and there's a few names that I think I would really like. Now, I'm not even going to go with Tristan Jarry just because I don't think it's an option anymore. It doesn't feel like it's the smartest thing to do, just because the price is going to be high. Now, here's one name I don't think a lot of people were talking about at the start of the season as a potential backup. Now, let me pull up. Here we go. Alexander Georgiev, who is 8-5-1 this year, 918 save percentage, 3.15 goals against average. Pretty good. And he is actually 3 games away from being waiver eligible. And the team also has a goalie down in the minors, 15 games played, 1.98 goals against average, and a 930 save percentage in Igor Shesterkin. Now, obviously, we know Lundqvist is getting older, and I have no idea what their plan is on that end. I believe he has next year is his last year at 8.5. Are they going to run it with Georgiev and Lundqvist for the next 2 years? Or do they trade Georgiev? I think Shesterkin is your goalie for the future. He is a potential option. You look at someone even like Ryan Miller. The thing is I know I'm bouncing around here, but the thing is with this team is that the cap space is a nightmare. The cap space is an absolute nightmare. So bringing in someone like Ryan Miller, who has a cap hit of 1.125, is already too much money. And I think he could be a potential option. He's 4-2-2 and 908 save percentage and 3 goals against average.
Which is better than Hutchinson. And I sat down. I said, okay, what do you want in a goalie? In a backup goalie, sorry. And I think, honestly, anything above 905 would kind of make me happy. Anything above a 905 would make me happy. Plus, the rest of the league is going to try and get as much out of you for a backup because they know that's your one big need, right?
Right. And I don't think the thing is the league average save percentage is 906. And I don't know
not that much.
Yeah. Right now it's 906. And I don't know if I'm being too picky on what I want my save percentage to be. I just want a goalie that's better than Hutchinson. And I'm sorry, and I don't think Kaskisuo's an option. Just sure, he looked better than Hutchinson, but I don't know. And I don't think Hutchinson is an option, obviously. I really hope they do something. I don't necessarily know what they're waiting for. Hutchinson could potentially play again tomorrow night against Calgary. Keefe said he wanted to play him again one time on this road trip, which I believe ends on Saturday against the Edmonton Oilers. And he better not play Michael Hutchinson against the Oilers, because that's a nightmare. That is a nightmare waiting to happen. I can't imagine how bad that could go. I can't. So, yeah.
What's it like? I need to ask you this really quickly. Then I'll let you keep going here. But Montreal and Toronto. Montreal has a game in hand, but what do we really think about those? But they're tied for points right now. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel right now? Because I'm stressed.
Oh, I'm stressed. Here's the thing. If Mike Babcock was still coach, I'd be a whole nother level of stressed, because the team never looked like they cared. The team just looked scared on the ice. And I know that's something I wanted to bring up later when it comes to how Keefe's team looks different from Babcock's team. But I'm a little bit stressed, but I think this team could make the playoffs, because I think it has the talent. And last night's game in St. Louis, this game against St. Louis, are really proving to me, and I think a lot of fans, that this team has what it takes to make the playoffs. This team is not a Mike Babcock team anymore. This team is a Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe team. And sure, they have a crazy ton of defensive lapses. You saw last night alone 3 breakaways in the third period. And no, that's not acceptable. But I think that's something Keefe works on. And at the end of the day, he knows that this team can put in 6 goals a game if they want to. And I get Mike Babcock was preach. It seemed like all he was preaching is grind this. You gotta keep grinding. You gotta keep grinding. It's defense. But that's not how this team plays, or is designed to play. They have a lot of holes on the back end, but it's not a major concern for me right now, especially since I have to deal with the backup goalie situation. So, yeah, I'm nervous, but I have faith in this team, because I know even though I don't necessarily think I've seen it yet, I know what the potential of this team will be and will look like under Sheldon Keefe.
I can't wait till it's Montreal and Toronto fighting for third in the Atlantic till the bitter end of the season, and we end up killing each other on this show.
It's the last game, right? Montreal and Toronto play the last day. They're both of their last games.
Alex, I don't like that.
I think we have to record a live podcast while the game is going.
Okay, sweet. I mean, we're gonna have to do a lot of editing, because I'm gonna be swearing a lot. But Alex, anyway, when it comes to the Leafs, we talked a lot about backup calling. We're talking about some coaching here, but what about their defense? Because I think it's been like a criticism of this team for the past few years, going back to when it's really started being competitive under Babcock, and a lot of people are starting to mention Lindgren and Sandin again.
Yeah, this is something I think both those players could potentially get the Travis Dermott treatment. We'll see it in, let's say, I think Dermott came up in February. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I know for sure Sandin should get that treatment. Now, I haven't seen much of Liljegren just because I haven't watched a lot of Marley's games, but from what I have seen, I think he's either going to be ready by that time, or he could potentially be ready, or he will for sure be ready by the beginning of next year, especially during a time where the Leafs are going to be in a tricky situation with their defense, where Barry's out of contract, Muzzin's out of contract, Dermott's an RFA, and Cody Ceci is a UFA. So those two players are quite important in the future of this Leafs defense. Now, I'm going to pull up their cap friendly as I continue talking. Now, I know I wrote down okay, so there's two ways to look at this defense because this defense does need work. It would be stupid of me to sit here and tell you, no, this defense is fine. It's the backup goalie, and that's true. The backup goalie, I think, is their number one priority and should be their number one priority right now. Potentially, you could say that getting rid of Cody Ceci should be their number one priority, but who the hell wants that?
Oh, I'd resign him.
Stop it. Hey, man, I'll take who you want for Cody Ceci.
No.
What do you want for Cody Ceci, man?
I would re-sign him in Toronto because it's great content for the show.
Stop it. There's going to be great content for the show no matter what, okay?
Hey, Osner for CC 1-for-1. I'll do it all day.
No, that's the whole reason we got rid of Nikita Zaitsev. Stop it. So, I think if we're looking ahead, the future of this Leafs defense, I think, is mainly internal. You have Morgan Rielly, Travis Dermott, Timothy Liljegren, Rasmus Sandin. That's four right there. That's four players right there. Justin, I don't think he's the future of this defense, but he's a bottom pairing defenseman who the Leafs could use next year. I think if they do decide to bring back, listen, I don't know who they're going to bring back, and I still haven't made a clear decision if it should be Jake Muzzin or Tyson Barrie, or they might not bring back either of them. But they do need to bring, if they decide not to bring those two players back, they are going to have to bring in another defenseman through free agency. And I don't want to say it because I don't want to get too confident in it. And I know the chances of this happening are absolutely like minute.
Oh, I know where you're going.
If Alex Pietrangelo comes to the Leafs, I might cry a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. I will cry. Listen, it would, and I know John Tavares was the biggest free agent signing you could argue Leafs history.
In NHL history, the only one is Chara.
Yeah. But to bring Alex Pietrangelo to Toronto would be, especially it's something that the Leafs desperately need. That's one of those days where I just sit at home on the couch and watch free agency frenzy all day. That's how I'd react. I don't even know what I would say. I'd probably call you and laugh a little bit, but then I'd hang up. But I don't want to get I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, obviously.
I don't think I'd pick up the fun. Thank God we know each other when Tavares signed, because honestly, Alex, I don't think we'd be friends.
Yeah, but we were when.
No,
that's funny. That's funny.
Summer before we started at Ryerson.
No, I know. I'm just saying we knew that he wasn't going to Montreal at that point, so I don't know.
No, some of us had hope.
What do you mean? He didn't give them a meeting.
Alex, I know. All right.
Okay, I'm just making sure you know. But I think for the most part, let me just wrap this up on the defense. Is this most of the solution for this defense is internal. You got Sandin and you got Liljegren and you got a couple other players who look like they could be good. Matt Hollowell. I don't know any, I've heard good things about Joseph Duzak. So we'll see what is up there. Plus, I have confidence in them to draft their defense well, especially since, they picked Rasmus Sandin. So we'll see. And they picked a couple in last year in the 2019 draft. So I forgot who.
You forgot Magic Hand Marty Marincin.
Okay, Marty Marincin is a great AHL player, but I don't think he's an NHL player.
No,
he kind of falls into the same boat as someone like Nick Patan, but on the lead. Like, you know what I mean? I bet
that Alex is so professional that he gave my joke so much credence. I only like Marty Marincin because he has the best nickname in the league.
I listen, man. I just gotta say, and I'm not listen. I'm not gonna take that take. I fully took the Nick Patan take from JD Bunkus. I'm not gonna lie. They were talking about either today or yesterday on Leafs Hour, but since you brought it up, I'll just take it. I'll take it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I can't keep it to myself. Now, there's been 9 games in Sheldon Keefe's tenure as Leafs coach, and I think this team looks so different. Would you agree with that?
I've actually had the chance to catch a couple Leafs games. Unfortunately, it's them winning. So, yeah, I mean, there's still those holes, but you're always gonna you don't fix those overnight. But Alex, you know me. I've been saying all year that I have no issue. Like I said last week that the backup stuff could cost him a playoff spot, but that's for the sake of creating the show. For a fact, every conversation we've had on and off the podcast, that even as a Habs fan, I have no doubt that this team is going to pick it up. And it looks like this little stretch has been a big statement for them. And so do they look different? Do they look like the Toronto Maple Leafs that I thought they were going to be? Yes, they do. You can night and day.
And it's not even the team as a whole. I think there's individual player, like one player in particular, John Tavares, has had 2 of by far the best games of the season.
He's smiling.
The last 2 games.
Why is he happy all of a sudden? Why is he?
Oh, maybe because he has a good coach that he likes. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm
Can't figure that one out.